Time for our big story now. And as Mike hinted, killings by herdsmen across the Federation have forced both states and federal government to seek various solutions to the problem. So the Northern Governors Forum have now adopted dialogue as a possible way to end the clashes between the herdsmen and farming communities. On Sunday, the Northern States Governors Forum met with the national leadership and state chapters of the Miyetti Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria. At the meeting, the governors present were from Sokoto, Borno, Kano, and Kaduna, of course hosted by Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal. Worried by the rising cases of insecurity involving herdsmen, the governors discussed the genesis of the crisis, efforts to contain it, and how to find a permanent solution. They hope their intervention through the local conflict resolution mechanism will complement the efforts of the federal government to restore trust among all the people of the region.
All right, we still have with us Charles Ideho, journalist and social commentator, joining us on this discussion right now. Well, Charles, it's still good to have you join us.
Thank you.
Now, this issue has been, even though there was no communique to say, okay, this were the resolution at the meeting, it was agreed that this is the first leg of the meeting. The next leg will still take place. And then after that, we'll still meet again. We've met in Sokoto, we'll meet in Makurdi, we'll meet in Jos, and we'll meet in Kaduna, and so on. But what do you make of this development where, okay, federal government is talking about dialogue, okay, governors are also talking about dialogue, so it's about dialogue and dialogue now?
Yeah, first of all, it would have been hasty for them to come up with a communique because the meeting is still ongoing. It's a developing process. Of course, I understand they're also going to meet in somewhere in Benue and then go over. So maybe after they have done all this, then it will now be a total package of what they have resolved to do. But again, I think I would like to applaud those who came up with that idea. Long overdue. You can no longer pretend that you're not concerned, because the issue of Miyetti or cattle breeders and the clashes between farmers and all has been costing the North a lot in terms of their economies. States right now are suffering, groaning under the issue of fighting, killings. Take a look at Benue State. People are no longer very, very comfortable going to their farms. They can't even send their wives to the farm. When we were growing up in those days, you could send your wives to go fetch the firewood. But it's not happening anymore in some states. In Edo recently, last week, I understand the suspected herdsmen killed a student of Ambrosal University.
Right. So
the thing is becoming a national disgrace. A menace that needs to be arrested. So that's why I said I actually applaud those who came up with the idea for them to go about this political rapprochement. But again, if you are resolved, if you are going to come with resolution, you don't just dialogue. If you are talking about dialogue is not a monologue. It has to do with more two or more people. So you have called the Miyetti. What about the farmers, people representing farmers?
Absolutely.
Because cattle breeding is a part of agriculture. Crop farming is also part of agriculture. So the most wrong pari passu, if you say, okay, you want to arrest the issue of, you're talking about food insecurity, you can't allow one to suffer for the other to grow. So both of them must have to be addressed seriously. So that's why I said that it is good. Maybe this is the first leg. The second leg, it might be for them to now invite even the farmers to say, how do we bring a lasting solution to all this crisis?
And indeed, the meetings now is going to span through Jos to Abuja, yes, and co. But I'm even looking at the attendance of governors present out of the 19 or so in that entire northern landscape. Now, 4 governors. It then, perhaps called to question how much of involvement or how much of cooperation do all the governors in that region have on this very crucial matter?
Well, two things. One of them is are they vexed? If they are not, again, there are other people who are slow starters. They may say, okay, let them go first. Let's see what's going to come out. So I want to toe the line, the second thought, or they are slow starters. Let's just know. So now that they appear to have recorded a measure of success, I think in the next stanza, maybe they might have a wider house that will aid their consultation. That's how I want to look at it.
Right,
yes.
right.
Yeah,
all right, but there are comments we have heard and reports we have heard from different states, especially from areas like Taraba and even Benue State, the governor is still insisting that the leadership and those who perpetrated all of those acts should be arrested. Now, looking from that window where, okay, the governors are saying, okay, let us dialogue, and we're even going to Benue, we're going to Makurdi to dialogue. Do you think the governor of, or the people of Benue State will be very quick to say, okay, let us just dialogue and forget the past, when we're talking about more than 100 people being killed recently?
In my opinion, I think it will also be criminal if you told any governor, if you told anybody, go forget about the loss of your beloved. It will be criminal so to speak. So and there lies the issue of the resolution. How do you want to move from point A to point B, and then you want to leave behind the effects? Something caused these things, and then people were killed needlessly. Underline that, and then you say, okay, just forget, they are dead, let's move on. Because the value of life, nobody can determine that. You can't place even monetary value on anybody's life. So as they are looking for ways to end this crisis, the government must also look at the other angle, where people who have been fingered to be responsible for the dastardly act of these killings must be brought to justice. Because justice denied is not going to help us to move anywhere. So they must bring those people to it, because actually they committed crime against the state, against humanity. That has to be resolved. If you're looking for any resolution, if that's not resolved, then you won't get anywhere. So let them be able to look for political will also to make sure that those people who are fingered, let thorough investigation be carried out. And if they are found culpable, let them be punished. It will serve as a deterrent. And
even more worrisome is the fact that these killings are even still going on unabated.
Yes,
in
we heard
Benue,
about five
right, and even down south.
Yes.
You know, we still hear of reports. And now Miyetti Allah, in addition to a host of will I say excuses that they are given now, they say the people carrying out from their own findings are the youth. Among them are strangers, criminals who just come to, infiltrate their ranks. Now, what do you make of all this in the light of, these moves by the government?
Look, it's like that sounds to be like buck passing. Okay, if you, for instance, you are Yoruba, I'm just saying, if we are Yoruba, and then you find that there are some elements within Yoruba race or Yoruba country that are certain things that is against the image of Yoruba country. What do you do?
Denting the image
of the Yoruba country. So what do? You move swiftly, arrest that, so that you're able to save the image of the people. Don't say, yeah, I know the Yoruba youths don't mind them. But the issue is what happens to the image of the Yoruba country. That's very important. So the Fulani country need to do something about that. If they know who they are.
No, the Miyetti Allah, not Fulani country.
Well, they also Miyetti Allah is Fulani.
Yeah,
so if they look at Fulani, but no one says Fulani is that.
There are other nationalities who are members of Miyetti Allah without being Fulani.
Well, good, but again, the mudslinging has been against the Fulani. There is hardly any day you find a newspaper headline when you find Herdsmen, you find Fulani there. That's what I'm saying.
But that's the misconception. The whole of the people are.
Then the misconception needs to be removed. That's what I'm saying. So Miyetti Allah has to remove that issue of branding every Herdsman a Fulani, because as we speak, criminality is carrying out business. It has become like a franchise. All you need to do, just go and kill, and then don't worry. The media will call the Fulani Herdsmen.
All right, well, we have to end it here right now. Charles Ideho, journalist and social commentator, thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go on a break, and then we come back to discuss General T.Y. Danjuma's comments, and that's generating lots of controversy. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.